What if I told you that one of the grandest biblical epics ever filmed almost didn't make it past the religious experts hired to approve it? Because behind the spectacle of the Ten Commandments, beneath the plagues, pyramids, and parted seas, lies a stranger truth. Cecil B. DeMille didn't just recreate the Exodus, he battled scripture, scholars, and Hollywood itself to do it. This is the Ten Commandments, 1956, versus the Bible. 10 weird facts the movie got right and wrong. And by the end, you'll discover why the quietest, most intimate scene in the entire film is also the only one that gets everything exactly right. Number 10. The movie was censored by religious experts, and DeMille had no choice. Before a single frame was shot, Cecil B. DeMille submitted his script to Jewish, Catholic, and Protestant advisors, not just for accuracy, but for permission. And this wasn't a courtesy, it was survival. A bad review from a major denomination could get a film banned in entire regions, condemned from pulpits, or boycotted nationwide. DeMille knew one misstep could collapse the whole production, so he let religious experts from different faith backgrounds dissect every line. To keep all faiths satisfied, DeMille rewrote entire sections to avoid what they called theological impropriety. But here's the twist. After all this interference, after all the compromises and rewrites, DeMille fought to keep one scene exactly as written, a moment so textually faithful that even the strictest advisors couldn't find fault with it. We'll get to that. Number 9, no, the Hebrews did not build the pyramids. If you watched the movie, you saw Hebrew slaves hauling massive stone blocks, sweating under forced labor to construct towering pyramids. It's one of the most powerful images in cinema. Visually unforgettable. Historically wrong. By Moses' time, around the 13th century BCE, the Great Pyramids at Giza were already ancient history. They'd been standing for over 1,000 years. Think about that. The pyramids were as old to Moses as the Crusades are to us. Archaeological evidence shows they were built by Egyptian workers, not foreign slaves. The builders were paid laborers, skilled craftsmen. So yes, the film's most iconic image is also its biggest historical mistake. The Bible never says the Israelites built the pyramids, and archaeology proves they didn't. But if they didn't build pyramids, what did they build? The answer is stranger than you'd think. Number 8. Moses was not Egypt's greatest general. Hollywood gives us a Moses who is a royal architect, a brilliant military strategist, and a celebrated war hero. He wins battles against Ethiopia. He designs entire cities. He commands armies and appears destined for the throne. Ramses doesn't just see him as a rival for Nefertiti's affection, he sees him as a genuine threat to his power. It's bold, dramatic, and deeply human storytelling. Biblically, we're told something far simpler. Moses was raised in Pharaoh's house and educated in all the wisdom of the Egyptians. Acts 7:22. Beyond that, scripture stays remarkably quiet. That silence leaves room for imagination, and DeMille embraced it. He filled in the empty spaces with the kind of training, responsibility, and prestige someone growing up in a royal household could have had. It heightens the emotional stakes and makes Moses' later choices feel weighty and personal, the genuine sacrifice of a brilliant career. It's artistic interpretation built on historical possibility. Scripture gives us the outline. Hollywood paints in the colors. Number 7. Nefertiti, the queen who never existed. Sort of. Anne Baxter's Nefertiti is unforgettable. Passionate, manipulative, desperate to keep Moses. She schemes against Ramses, uses her beauty like a weapon, and stands as the embodiment of everything Moses must walk away from. Power, privilege, and Egypt's most desirable woman. Her performance is magnetic. But this version of Nefertiti is entirely fictional, created by DeMille to raise the emotional stakes. The Bible never mentions a queen romantically linked to Moses. No love triangle, no rivalry, no desperate woman torn between duty and desire. And here's the historical twist. If Ramses II really was the pharaoh of the Exodus, then the queen of that period would have been the famous Nefertari, a real historical figure who left behind elegant tombs, stunning inscriptions, and magnificent monuments. But she has no written connection whatsoever to the biblical Moses story. Scripture gives us political tension and divine mission. Hollywood layers on sexual intrigue and romantic tragedy. Remove Nefertiti, and the story becomes less Hollywood and far more biblical. Number 6. Bithia, a name with no scriptural origin. In the Bible, Pharaoh's daughter adopts Moses. She is unnamed, her motivations unstated, her fate unknown. In the movie, she becomes Bithia, a bold, compassionate royal who defies her brother and rescues the Hebrew baby from the Nile with full knowledge of what she's doing. She's protective, loving, and willing to sacrifice her own standing at court to keep Moses safe. She's one of the most human, emotionally resonant characters in the film, and entirely invented. The name Bithiah does appear in 1 Chronicles 4:18, but not as Pharaoh's daughter. She's just a genealogical footnote in a list of names. DeMille took a name from a completely different context and built an entire character around it. The emotional weight of that Nile rescue scene is real. The fear, the defiance, the maternal love. But the details are Hollywood invention. Number 5. The Hebrews built store cities, not monuments. Remember how we debunked the pyramid myth? Here's what the Bible actually says the Hebrews built. They built for Pharaoh the store cities of Pithom and Ramses. Exodus 1:11. Not pyramids, not towering temples, not colossal monuments, but store cities, logistical hubs in the Eastern Delta designed for grain storage and supply distribution. Think massive warehouses and administrative complexes, not architectural wonders that inspire awe. Now, here's where it gets interesting. That biblical reference to Ramses is actually why most people assume Ramses II was the pharaoh of the Exodus. But scholars still debate this. Some prefer an earlier Exodus date, around 1446 BCE, which would point to Thutmose III or his successor Amenhotep II as the pharaoh. The truth, we don't know for certain which pharaoh it was. But either way, the movie shows endless lines of Hebrew laborers constructing Egypt's wonders. Massive temples, towering statues, epic cinema at its finest. Scripture's description is far more practical. Warehouse cities, not world-famous tombs. The symbolism Hollywood chose is unforgettable. Enslaved people literally building their oppressor's glory. But biblical and historical accuracy? They take the hit. Number 4. The Burning Bush. Accurate in essence, dramatic in interpretation.
I am the God of thy father.
In Exodus, Moses encounters a bush that burns but is not consumed. The moment is quiet, sacred. God speaks. In the movie, that same moment becomes a spectacular visual event. Flames burst from stone, light washes over the desert, shadows flicker across Moses' astonished face. The voice of God rolls like thunder, echoing across the mountain.
The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob.
It's powerful, it's unforgettable, and it's DeMille's interpretation of a scene Scripture describes simply and reverently. One surprising choice. The voice of God in the film was recorded by Charlton Heston himself. DeMille believed no actor's voice could fully represent divinity, so he used Moses' voice, symbolically suggesting that God speaks through us as well as to us. The core elements are faithful: the flame, the holy ground, the divine commission. The scale and spectacle? That's Hollywood shaping a sacred moment with cinematic imagination. Number 3. The Red Sea didn't look like that. Exodus says the waters were divided. That's it. No walls of water stretching 50 feet high. No thunder rolling across the exposed seabed. No glowing chasm with divine light streaming from above. Just divided. But DeMille wanted audiences to see a miracle, so he created one of the most ambitious special effects sequences in film history. He used gigantic water tanks holding thousands of gallons, dyed gelatin to create the illusion of water walls, reverse photography to make the sea appear to split apart and then crash back together. The crew filmed water pouring into a massive tank, then played the footage backward to show it parting. It took almost a full year to perfect, and it worked brilliantly. The sequence is breathtaking even by today's standards. You can feel the danger as the Hebrews walk between those towering walls of water. You sense the divine power holding back the sea, and when the waters finally crash down on Pharaoh's army, it's genuinely terrifying. The miracle in film is visual and spectacular. Both are unforgettable, for very different reasons. Number 2. The angel of death was not a green mist. One of the most chilling moments in the entire film is the Passover scene, a luminous green vapor drifting silently through the streets of Egypt, taking the lives of the firstborn. It moves like fog, glows with eerie supernatural light, passes over marked doorways, and enters unmarked homes. Visually stunning, biblically invented. The Bible never describes the destroyer visually. No color, no shape, no mist, just the stark statement that the Lord passed through Egypt and struck down the firstborn. But wait, that green fog isn't the whole Passover scene. There's another moment just before the death angel arrives that DeMille filmed completely differently. A quieter moment he insisted on getting exactly right, down to the smallest detail. The fog effect is pure Hollywood invention, beautiful, and horrifying, designed to make an unseen judgment visible to cinema audiences. Because film demands spectacle, even for the sacred. Number 1. The earth swallowed the idolaters, but not in Exodus. During the Golden Calf Rebellion, the movie shows the ground violently splitting open beneath the idolaters' feet, swallowing them alive as Moses watches in horror. The earth cracks, people scream, bodies disappear into the chasm. Dramatic? Absolutely. Biblical? Not in this story. That specific punishment comes from Numbers 16, not Exodus 32. In Numbers, a man named Korah leads a rebellion against Moses' authority. God responds by opening the earth to swallow Korah, his entire family, and all his followers, a terrifying display of divine judgment. In Exodus, the golden calf incident ends very differently. Moses grinds the idol into powder, forces the Israelites to drink it mixed with water, and then the Levites kill about 3,000 people with swords. Grim, brutal, deadly serious, but not cinematic in the same way. DeMille combined two separate biblical events, years apart in the narrative, into one spectacular moment of visual drama. The Bible's account is harsh enough on its own, but it doesn't come with collapsing earth and falling bodies, so DeMille made it cinematic. Before we close this journey, there's something older than Hollywood worth remembering. In Jewish tradition, there's midrash, the practice of filling scripture's silences with interpretation and imagination. Not to rewrite the Bible, but to illuminate what the text leaves unsaid. And truthfully, we all do it. The Bible gives us only fragments of Moses' early life, and we fill in the rest. We infer what we can from the world he lived in. DeMille did exactly that, shaping the gaps with drama, emotion, and human conflict the way storytellers have done for thousands of years. But it raises a question. Where does the story end and our imagination begin? Maybe that's why this one scene stands apart. The marking of the doorposts. No pyramids, no invented romance, no green mist, no earth-swallowing spectacle from another book. Just families in lamplight painting lamb's blood on wood. No special effects, no orchestral swell. Just obedience and faith. Moses moves from house to house exactly as Exodus describes. Hyssop dipped, lintel marked, doorposts sealed. Every detail matches scripture. After all the embellishments, after all the cinematic inventions, this is the moment where DeMille finally trusted the Bible enough to film it as written. No spectacle, no additions, just scripture. And that's the heart of the Ten Commandments. Where the Bible is silent, Hollywood speaks. Where scripture whispers, DeMille roars. But when scripture speaks clearly, he stepped back and let the ancient words stand. Because every time we read these stories, it's a collision of the past with our present minds, and with the minds of countless generations before us. And in that meeting point, sometimes belief itself becomes the greatest special effect. So tell me, what part of this story surprised you the most? Whatever it was, stay right here, because next we're diving into The Mummy, 1999, versus real Egyptology, and you do not want to miss how Hollywood handled ancient Egypt the next time around.